The man woke up and immediately sensed something was wrong. He realized he actually had a system panel. His role was a level 1 villager. It turned out he was playing an ultra-realistic VR game. Then he found a beginner gift pack hidden in a haystack. After leaving the stable, what came into view was a lush green village. But in the next second, Jack couldn't stay calm. What shocked him wasn't the villagers who suddenly appeared, but the bandits charging in from the distance. Yet the villagers didn't show the weakness he expected. Instead, they looked ready to throw hands. Seeing this, Jack decisively used the appraisal skill. The leader was not only a level 41 powerhouse, but also equipped with a blue-grade bandit headband. Sure enough, as the fight heated up, the situation quickly turned one-sided. But at that moment, Jack felt tempted, because the bandit leader was standing nearby with his back turned. Thinking he might gain a large amount of experience, Jack decided to go all in. After cleanly taking the leader's head, he jumped into the fight with lingering excitement. In real life, he was already a swordsmanship expert, and now with a fine blade in hand, he was even more deadly. In the blink of an eye, the area was left covered in corpses. Although he was a bit disappointed to have only leveled up once, under the village chief's guidance, Jack quickly stopped worrying. The chief had already gathered all the bandits' belongings, and Jack could take everything. Jack immediately picked up the bandit leader's headband, but after appraising it, he sensed something was off. It was just a blank item with no skills. Clearly, it had been swapped. After reporting this to the village chief, Jack thought feedback would take at least a few business days, but to his surprise, he got the correct headband back shortly after. It turned out a villager had stolen it. After sincerely apologizing to Jack, the chief's hand began to glow, and a card appeared at the same time. Seeing Jack's confusion, the chief explained it was an identity card generated when registering a slave, basically the equivalent of an ID. The thief would soon be sold as a slave, and as the victim, Jack would receive half the proceeds. At that point, the chief suddenly remembered. Jack still hadn't collected another reward. The bandits might have had bounties on them, which Jack could claim in nearby towns. If needed, the chief could even prepare a carriage for him. Jack naturally had no reason to refuse. The scene shifted to the next day. Following the chief's instructions, Jack first went to the knight's order. After collecting the bandit bounties, he immediately headed to the slave exchange. The thief sold for 30,000 Naru. After giving half to the villagers, Jack prepared to leave, but the owner suddenly called out to him. Unlike the crude setting earlier, this conversation took place in a luxurious room. The owner asked if Jack was interested in buying slaves. Since a new batch had just arrived, Jack couldn't help but feel dismissive. To him, slaves were nothing but a burden. But the next second, images suddenly flooded his mind, and if Jack was still holding himself together before, the very next moment completely shattered his resolve. The collar around the girl's neck made her identity clear. Seeing the boy awaken, the owner calmly took a sip of tea, and said Jack had good taste. The girl was the shop's top pick, a wolfkin capable of fighting, with a pure and gentle personality. Originally priced at 600,000, she could now be taken for 420,000. Seeing Jack hesitate, the owner instantly understood, and kindly said that if Jack lacked funds, he could wait 5 days. He even dug a massive financial pit for him, but counting the bounty from killing the bandits, Jack was actually only 70,000 short. After careful consideration, only two paths lay before him. One was to keep hunting bandits for large bounties. The other was to earn money in the labyrinth. But having just arrived in this world, Jack felt hunting bandits might draw too much attention. So he decided to test the waters in the labyrinth first. Although his level was low, with a divine blade in hand, nothing seemed impossible. In the blink of an eye, Jack reached the first floor of the labyrinth. After briefly surveying the surroundings, a notification sound rang out. Opening the system, he found he had gained an explorer class. Each class came with related skills. Thinking of this, Jack checked the explorer abilities. One reduced item switching time, which was decent. The other, labyrinth movement, caught his interest. After silently thinking, returned to entrance, he stepped through a portal. Sure enough, he appeared back at the starting point. Wanting to test further, Jack tried to teleport outside the labyrinth, but he underestimated the system's sense of humor. Labyrinth movement meant exactly that, movement only within the labyrinth. Helpless, Jack began exploring the first floor. Using appraisal, he learned the monster ahead was a level 1 pine tree creature. With all his stat bonuses, it was instantly killed. Seeing the materials drop, Jack picked them up without hesitation. Even scraps were still money. After 2 hours of grinding, Jack arrived at the material exchange. Selling 20 branches, he earned 200 Naru, at a rate of 100 per hour. He calculated it would take 700 hours to reach 70,000. With that in mind, before dawn the next day, Jack got up and went straight back to work. He felt himself truly becoming a villager. This felt no different from chopping firewood. But as time passed, Jack realized how serious the situation was. Although his villager level had reached 5, he felt no joy at all. At this pace, even grinding non-stop for 24 hours would still take a month to reach 70,000. Not to mention his stamina had limits. Just as he was considering venturing deeper, an accident occurred. He seemed to trigger a hidden mechanism. Thinking of the rich rewards of hidden stages, and seeing faint light in the darkness, Jack hurried forward. But the next moment crushed his expectations, because the light was only a broken sword. Then the door behind him slammed shut, and an eerie sound echoed. When Jack instinctively looked over, the newcomers turned out to be old friends. This wasn't a treasure room, but a monster-only stage. Clearly, he had to clear it to leave. With no choice, Jack resumed chopping monsters. From desperate survival to smooth, practiced movements, Jack had gone numb. After killing countless tree creatures, the battle finally ended, not because he was overwhelmingly strong, but because his artifact had powerful lifesteal. The real question was whether his stamina held out. Looking at the densely packed loot in his bag, Jack decided to call call it a day. Just then, something in the distance caught his attention. Through conversations with others, Jack learned a bandit had died there, killed by someone after his bounty. Hearing this, Jack froze, thinking of his near-death struggles in the labyrinth, and the still distant 70,000 Neru. A bold idea formed.
同じ命をかけるのならよりロクサーヌに手が届く方法を取るべきだ
Jack decided to earn big bounties by hunting bandits. The first step was finding their trail. With that in mind, he headed to the chaotic marketplace. But surprisingly, even with system appraisal, he found no bandits there, recalling what an old man in the beginner village had said about brothels hidden in city alleys. That night, Jack wandered into the Forbidden District. With a mix of nerves and suspicion, he carefully moved through the red light area. Just as his inner struggle peaked, a burly man descended nearby. Seeing how familiar the bald man looked, Jack instinctively used appraisal.
見つけた
Following him, the scene shifted to a secluded spot. Seeing nothing but bandit classes, Jack chose not to act immediately. At his current level, a head-on fight would be suicide. Hours passed, until only one bandit remained. Jack quietly approached him, and said that if the man could introduce him to the boss Hugo, he would gift him a premium blue-grade item. The man was surprisingly cooperative, and politely invited Jack inside. But just as Jack prepared to trade, the man revealed his fangs, saying it was too late to regret. No third person would ever know what happened in this room. Jack might not know that the boss Hugo had already died days ago, and the bandit headband Jack carried was his relic. With that symbol of leadership, taking his place wouldn't be difficult. But before he finished, the man sucked in a sharp breath. Jack didn't hesitate, and threw the headband into the candle. In mere seconds, hunter and prey switched roles. This was a trap Jack had set, since Hugo had already been killed. Under cover of night, Jack hunted several more bandits, covering them with black cloth, then slicing cleanly along the neck. After repeating this a few times, the next day arrived with excitement. Looking at the bounties from the bandits, combined with his savings, he had surpassed 420,000. Soon, it was time for the transaction. The slave merchant had not lied. Roxanne stood beside him as promised. After signing the master-servant contract, Jack was about to enter a shameless new life.
お客様は本日をもちましてロクサーヌの所有者となりました。
ついに俺はロクサーヌを手に入れた
That night, he canceled his single room and decisively booked a double room. Seeing the girl's nervous expression, Jack immediately told her to sit beside him. Knowing things should progress gradually, he first reached for her ears, but that touch instantly hooked him. No, stay calm, first impressions mattered most. Still, why did the double room only have one bed? Then the two went shopping. When she wanted a shield, he nodded without hesitation. When she wanted clothes, he fulfilled the request, and generously added 2 sets of underwear. Along with daily necessities, the olive oil in front of them was one of those items. She said it was needed for weapon maintenance. Soon, the long-awaited night arrived. Seeing her sitting motionless on the floor, Jack learned that slaves could only get on the bed if permitted, but Jack ignored that rule and pulled her straight into his arms. To ease her nerves, he returned to his gradual approach, starting with washing each other's backs, then washing her hair. One by one, her mental defenses fell. By the next morning, there was no trace of awkwardness left. This was Jack's command. Every good morning must be replaced with a kiss, and since they had rested the day before, the two now planned to head back into the labyrinth together.